Hello, my name is Trey, and welcome back to another episode of CP Talks with Trey, a platform where I, Trey Morehouse, talk about living a life with cerebral palsy, as well as a bunch of other things related to the disabled community, in an effort to shine a spotlight on the issues we face to hopefully make the world a more understanding and tolerant place. Today's topic is on ableism. Ableism can be both internal and external. So, what is internalized ableism? According to the Cerebral Palsy Foundation, a well respected and highly recognized organization in the cerebral palsy community, internalized ableism happens when a disabled person starts to believe the negative stereotypes and prejudices about disability that society promotes. Yes, I get it. That sounds all technical and all. So let me share with you how I interpret this statement. I interpret this statement by the Cerebral Palsy Foundation to mean that society sets assumptions on us as it relates to our disability. Although I do acknowledge that assumptions are placed on most everyone, it is all too commonplace in the disabled community. Some common assumptions placed on individuals with a disability like cerebral palsy are the belief that disabled people can't work and that we require constant around the clock care and are a burden to our families and our communities. Wow. I don't know about you, but for me, that's a lot to unpack. So, let's take this one step at a time and begin with the assumption we can't work. This is simply not the case. As a matter of fact, I believe, in my opinion, it is that very assumption by society that prevents us from working. Now, I will admit, due to our limitations, depending on the person, some jobs may be ill advised. Like, if you are in a wheelchair, you're obviously not going to be able to be a person that loads a big giant utility truck. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, maybe if you put your mind to it, you probably could figure it out, but is it really likely? I mean, but really, when you think about it, that's true of everyone. Someone who was a professional dancer, let's say for 20 years, may not make the best accountant right out of the gate. But, with if they have a natural aptitude for it and if they really studied for it and really wanted it, could they become a good accountant? Sure. They could figure it out. Absolutely. The same logic applies to a disabled person. That logic just may be applied differently. If you really want a job and you want to figure out how to do it, I'm sure you can. You just need to figure out a way that works for you and a way that accommodates your limitations. And given enough time, it surely is possible. Now let's talk about the stereotype that disabled people require constant around the clock care. While this may be true of some people with a disability, it isn't a one size fits all situation, and everyone's ability level is different. There are some people that, given the right time and equipment, they can safely and effectively drive a car or get dressed independently or manage their finances or do their taxes. These are just some of the examples. Some disabled people may not excel at these tasks. It depends on the person and their ability level, but this is true of any person, whether you're disabled or not. If you're not disabled, you may not excel at taxes, and that's okay. That has nothing to do with your not being or being disabled. That has no bearing on disability. But that doesn't mean that just because you are disabled, you can't do these things, because there is a possibility that you can. It really depends on your ability level. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and just because we may go about doing tasks differently to accommodate our disability doesn't mean it's wrong or shouldn't be done to accommodate our disability and to get the tasks done that we need to get done. Another common misconception is that we are a burden to our families and our communities. This is also not true. That assumption comes from ignorance and fear of disability. And while we may require more time or assistance in getting certain tasks done, again, that depends on your ability level and your exact circumstances. That doesn't mean we can't get them done. A lot of disabled people live happy, productive, and fulfilling lives, and usually try to better their community if given the opportunity. Perpetuating stereotypes just like these are inaccurate and very harmful to individuals with disabilities, and perpetuating these stereotypes is just one form of ableism that must, I repeat, must be eradicated. Stereotypes like these can leave the person affected by the disability questioning their self worth, leading to self esteem issues. Internalized ableism is believing you aren't worthy because of your disability, or even feeling as though you are a burden to others because of your disability. Social isolation can be a sign of internalized ableism. Often, the person suffering from internalized ableism feels as though they aren't worthy or don't have a right to socialize with those of a different ability level. Difficulty advocating for yourself can be a sign of internalized ableism because you as a person don't feel you are deserving of the help you require because of your disability. Oftentimes, because society has made you feel this way. If ableism would stop, then so would internalized ableism. Society needs to change its thinking towards disabled people. The thought that it is rude to ask questions or inquire about a disability needs to go away. Most people, again, I can't speak for everyone, but it is my experience and my understanding that most people in the disabled community usually welcome inquisitive questions and are happy to answer your questions to better educate you on what it's like living with a disability. And if the question is too invasive, normally we will just tell you that. It truly is no different than talking to any other person. Disability is not a disease. You can't catch a disability. Most parents will discourage or hurry along their children if the child asks questions or points at someone with a disability, and I get it. That can be embarrassing and uncomfortable, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do as a parent, but it is better for you to educate your child on disability and to maybe you and your child go up to the person that is disabled and you ask them politely for a moment of their time and you have a short little conversation about disability. And if you're not comfortable with that, because I get it, stranger danger, I really understand that. Maybe you and your child can safely explore disability education resources at home to educate both you and your child about disability, the disability community, and the right ways to approach somebody with a disability. This will go a long way to reversing and combating ableism. And if ableism is taken out of the equation, internalized ableism will also stop. According to 3blmedia.com, persons with disabilities make up 15% of our world. That's 1.2 billion people. At the time of this article's publication on 3BL Media, this article was published on August 20th, 2021. Unlike communities like people of color or women, the disabled community is one of the marginalized communities that you can join at any time in your life, whether that may be from illness, accident, or even simply old age. This is where education is so important, not just to combat ableist viewpoints, but to also share information and perspectives you as a non-disabled person may need someday. Having that information and having those perspectives may help you to understand the disabled community. And I do sincerely hope that if you are able bodied, you never become disabled, because who really wants that? I get it. But if that does happen to happen to you, then being educated on the disabled community and understanding a little bit what it's like may make that better in the event that you do become disabled, because you are at least a little bit educated on it. So not only will the education benefit you, but it will help stop the questions and the stares and the truly ableist viewpoints that society has perpetuated. So remember just to be kind, and just because somebody does something a little different than the way you do it to accommodate a disability doesn't mean it's wrong or it shouldn't be done. It just means that they're doing what they have to do in order to live their lives to the best of their ability. Remember to always be kind, and it's okay to ask questions if you don't understand why somebody is doing something this way, or if you're curious about how they became disabled or anything like that. It is okay to ask questions, and if somebody finds those questions uncomfortable, either way, whether it's you or the person that is disabled, you can just say, I'm not really comfortable answering that question right now. I hope you understand. And that is perfectly okay. But having the assumption that somebody can't do something because of their disability, or having their assumption that somebody shouldn't be able to do something because of their disability, is very ableist. It is. And it really just needs to stop by the way we change our thinking. Instead of thinking somebody shouldn't be able to do something, maybe instead ask how they manage to get this done, because usually, as long as that person isn't in a hurry, they would be happy to show you. Now, again, I can't speak for every disabled person, but that has been my experience, that usually a disabled person welcomes inquisitive questions. I know I certainly do, assuming I have the time to handle the questions. So remember just to be kind, be patient, and if you don't understand something, it is okay to ask questions. And never make assumptions. This has been another episode of CP Talks with Trey. I'm your host, Trey Morehouse. Have a great day.